Hi everybody, it's Lydia. I just wanted to give you a brief tutorial on some ideas for how you can approach the Developing a Spring Schedule session once FYS meets back again after fall break. So what you're going to need to do is, this will take some preparation ahead of time, but you're going to log into your Eagle Web account and then you're going to click on faculty and you'll come to your course list. On your course list, you'll find different drop-down options. This is where you do your grade entry for midterm grades, but you'll also find your class list. So go ahead and click on class list, and here you'll be able to bring up your students' rosters, and you'll be able to find their assigned advisor and their major. So for example, for my student Sarah, she is a biology major and her advisor is Aaliyah Davenport. As you'll see, I have another student, Peyton, here, who does not have an assigned advisor. She's an undefined major. I checked with the registrar's office today, and they said that you should refer these students to Dr. Peggy Morlier, who is the Dean of School of Arts and Humanities, and she will be their advisor if they're undefined or undeclared majors. So what I do with this information is I actually go student by student, and I write down what their specified major is. Now, some of our students might already be considering of changing majors, or there might be an error on this roster for whatever reason. So what I'll do is I will go through and I'll print out a couple of different things. I will click on, let me show you where I'm at the OIRE under Eagle Web. So I was before on the faculty tab. I'll go and click over to the OIRE and scroll down to the bottom, and if I go a little bit farther down, I will find the General Education Advising Grid. Now keep in mind, this is also in that student catalog that Eric Graham showed to our students during the advising session today, but you can also find this on the OIRE. So there's two places you can find it: the student catalog or student handbook and the advising grid. I'm sorry, OIRE. So if you click on the advising grid here, you can actually pull up the General Education Advising Grid. And so this is what I use if I have a student who's undefined or who maybe is thinking about changing a major. And what I'll do is I will walk my students through the general education requirements that they have already fulfilled and ones that they could consider to start building their schedules. Now, one thing that we need to make very clear to our students, unless you are one of their assigned advisors, since most of us are not faculty advisors on the FYS team, you will tell them that you're not an advisor. You do not have all of the answers to their questions. So any questions that they have, especially ones that you have no idea, please have them write them down so they can bring them to their advising session, or they can email it to their advisor. We cannot advise students. We are only giving them suggestions, and we're only telling them how to understand the advising grids. The rest is up to them. We are not allowed to give them any advising information. So anyway, what I'll have them do is I'll have them pull up their current schedule or think about their current schedule, and I'll have them actually tick off each one of the classes they're currently in. And I will print out a physical copy for each student in my class, depending on their major. And then I'll have some Gen Ed grids off to the side too if they need them. So I'll have them check off first year seminar if they think that they're going to pass, math 1, 2, whatever it is. And then I'll also show them areas that they might need to still have some coursework, like they might need a lab course that they didn't do their first semester. So I'll get them to start understanding what the Gen Ed requirements are, especially if they're an undefined major. All right. If they're a declared major, like my friend Sarah, then I will actually print out a biology major grid for her. However, sometimes the grids are a little bit different. Sometimes the grids are not updated in the OIRE, and so we might not have that accurate information. So it's always good to have them check their catalog and also have that key important conversation with their advisor. But what I'll do, if for Sarah's example, I will give her the biology grid. I'll actually print it out and I'll have her check through, just like if I was going through the Gen Ed. And you'll see this Gen Ed advising grid is the same as the one I just showed you. So it still has a Gen Ed portion here, and then it also has their major curriculum here. So I will have Sarah check off the classes she's taking, classes in the Gen Ed category that she needs, classes to think about for the future, depending on her major and what the advisor says. Sometimes they will get into their major curriculum, depending especially on the degree, within their first couple of years. Sometimes they won't even touch that course material until later on. So really, that's not for us to advise them on, but we definitely want to steer them more towards looking at Gen Ed classes to complete. And any questions they have, they'll send them to their advisor. So I found these grids, like I said, under the OIRE in EagleWeb. I did notice today that there were a couple that were missing. The sports studies and sociology grids were not listed here. So I actually had to go and look up the student catalog and find those grids, and I just copy and pasted them into a Word document and printed it out for my students. And what I'll do is I will go back after I've printed out one for each student. I will label it with their name and I'll give it to them during class on Monday. And once they have their grid and they've checked off what exactly they're going to be considering taking or registering for, then I will have them also look for some classes on their grid in EagleWeb so they can start developing a schedule. I also always recommend that they develop multiple schedules. So if, let's say that they want to take a Math 102 and there's only five different classes offered in the spring, I would have them choose, maybe their top 3, especially if they don't get in right away, or into the time slot that they want. I also would do that for each one of them, so I would like them to have at least 2 or 3 alternative schedules that they can talk to about with their advisor. You also want them to think about what their athletic schedule is going to look like. If they were in an off season in the fall semester and they're going to be in an on season in the spring, they need to take that into consideration. If they're going to be working and they weren't working the fall semester, or if they're going to be in more productions or whatever it is that they're doing, we want to kind of tell them, you need to be a little bit aware of this when you're building your schedule. Think very clearly about how you can build your schedule around efficient time management, and have those questions defer to the advisor. A lot of times you'll get some great questions about dual enrollment, and if they're dual enrollment or their AP credit classes also rolled over, so they might not have to take a particular class. And again, that's a great question, but we can't give them the answer to that. The advisor needs to be able to see that, and or also the registrar's office. So that's where I always defer them to for those particular questions. So hopefully this should help you. Unfortunately, in EagleWeb, we don't have a student view, so we can't show them how to pull up their schedule. But if they're paying attention today, during the advising session, they got all of that important information. And if you have a peer leader, you can also leverage your peer leader and ask them to show your students how to register for classes, how to look up classes, how to find their advisor information and everything on EagleWeb. If you don't have a peer leader, that's fine. They got that information today in the advising session. So really what you want to do next week when we meet back after fall break is help them develop their spring schedule, help them identify their advisor, and maybe even help them make some connections if necessary, if they need assistance with that. What we really want to make sure that they're doing is that they're getting on the path to registering for the spring semester. So this is a key point in our retention, where we want to make sure that we are catching any students who might be considering either withdrawing, dropping out, or leaving the institution. You can definitely tell them, I understand that you have some concerns, you might not want to stay, but this is a vital question for your advisor. You need to meet with your advisor before you make that decision. So sometimes, hopefully we can catch some of those students. Sometimes we won't be able to, but please always defer them to their faculty advisor. All right, I think that's everything I have for you today. Let me know, as always, if you have any questions, and you guys have a great fall break. Talk to you later. Bye.